Hey, how you doing? Let's get her done. Let's get on to the Marshall game. Okay, dokie. Put two queens in. Let me get a drink and then we'll get started. Okay, this is the Queen's Gambit declined. A surprise. This is what Marshall says. A surprise sacrifice crashes through Black's defenses. Marshall's white, and Doras is black. So Marshall plays d4. His opponent plays d5. Oops, d5. Marshall plays c4. e6. Knight c3. Knight f6. Bishop g5. Knight bd7. e3. And then bishop to h7 to block the pin on the queen. Queen to c7 or c2, which allows for potential infiltration. Also, it allows castle queenside, and kaboom, 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 up the board we go. You gotta love that. I was very fond of this move at this stage of my career. It's an elastic. It has an elastic characteristic appeal to me. No, a lasting characteristic appeal to me. For instance, it proves for the queen side, and castling is an instant that you can do within an instant. This prepares the ability for castle king side, queen side. Also, it prepares this type of advance too. So he played c6, pawn takes, knight takes pawn, bishop takes, bishop, queen takes bishop, knight f3, castle kingside for black, knight takes knight, king pawn takes e takes d5, and the pawn formation is one frequently seen in my games. In recent years, it has been adopted a great deal by Flora and Rosicky against Rosicky and Flora did this against him all the time. Oh, sorry, Florhura. That's his name. Sorry. So bishop to d3. Pow is what he wants to do. He wants to tickle the h7 pawn. He castled rather than castling queenside, because that potentially, if you castled queenside, it's kind of dangerous, because all your opponent has to do is play this and then open up the position. It's like, yikes. So that's why he castled kingside. A safer move. Rook to e8. Knight g5. Preparation to move, he's preparing to move the knight so that he can undermine the position of the white's knight. And we're like, I don't think so, my friend. Uh-oh, I'm sorry, I had it in the wrong spot. He wants to reroute the knight, so he played B. If the knight had played knight to e4, bishop takes, pawn takes, and then f5. Not queen takes, which is a double question mark because of f6 and with good attacking chances for black. So we don't like that. So he just played there. Rook f3. We're doing a rover, rook up and over. This move has a double object of guarding the king pawn. Black was threatening to play f6 and placing the rook in the attacking in this position now allows for the knight to retreat out in that scenario. Knight f8. Rook there. Now we're going to try to punch a hole. We're going to try to go punch, punch, punch if we can. f6. Knight g, knight takes, and then boom, kaboom, there's an attack. Black has successful in delaying the knight, but in doing so he creates a target for an attack which will utterly be black's downfall later on. Rook f8. f5. Bishop d7. Rook g3. Bishop to e8. Rook f3. Bishop takes. Rook takes bishop. Rook f2 or f7, sorry. White's attacking plan is clear. He will advance his kingside pawns in order to open up advanced attacks against Black's kingside. King to e8. h4. Queen to e4. An offer which White naturally declines since he wants to continue the attack and to avoid an ending in which his pawn position would be unfavorable. He's saying to go pawn hunting would be a very foolish thing to do. Check here. Would be very risky to say the least. For then the thrust of g5 would be played and would all be over but the crying. Because once he takes here, 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 and then kaboom. And if he tries there, bam, we win that. And if he tries this, gotta love it. There's mate. So he avoided that. So pawn hunting, no. We're still going for knock knock, as we like to say, on the door of the castle, saying, "Let me in. I am here to rule your land." So he takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, rook takes, the knight pawn, and then rook b6 or f6. Rook h3. Rook e7. King to h2. He played king to f7. Running into a net sacrifice is never a good thing to do. Rotates pawn, kaboom. Nope. And White actually resigned. The moves would continue with takes, queen check, king f7, rook h7 check, king e7, queen to b8 check, king d7, queen takes pawn check, king to d8, queen takes check, king c7, and then mate on there. Mate, that'd be mate. Alright, now it's time for us to get into our puzzles that we're going to be going over. And let's do it to it. And this is the time when you, my Chess Cruncher friends, get to participate with the puzzles. So you'll get to put in what you think the move is. Once I get it set up, of course. Make sure I got this. Yep. We're happy to go. Okay, it's your turn, my Chess Cruncher friends. Chess Cruncher team. Would you like? It's white to move. Let me do it. Oops. White to move, mate 2. And I'll enlarge the board so you can see it better. There you go. White to move, mate 2. So what do you think the puzzle is? What do you think the moves for white are? You're more than welcome to join us on puzzle finding, because puzzles are good for your thinking process. Everybody, and you know what? I always think of this, like an apple a day keeps the dentist away. A puzzle a day helps your brain improve. Well, then in about a minute or so, probably about 30 seconds, we'll solve it. Because I try to give about like a minute or so to for the viewers to actually give it a chance to solve, and then we'll do it on we'll be able to show the puzzle, because these are really fun puzzles. Let me see here now. Let's see here. Here's the move. Double check. This is a double check. King takes, and then bishop mate. It looked like that rook takes h7 would work, but the only problem is you don't have a continuation. If you played e6, then you would lose it. So the only one that actually allows for a mate is rook h8, check, king takes, and then bishop e6 is mate. Yeah, we're doing it at, you know what? We're a team. That's the whole thing about Chess Cruncher. It's all about teamwork. That's the whole point. There we go. Oops. Drat. Sometimes that's not fun. Okay, let's do that again. Yeah. There. I try to click the black ones every side pieces, and sometimes I actually click that. It's okay though. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Almost got it set up for position number 2. We usually do about 12 a day of puzzles, so we're on 1 out of 12. They're getting actually a little bit harder, but with proper tactical training, I know you guys will be able to find it. Yeah. Let's see here. 2, 3. You're always welcome to come and participate in the puzzles, so never feel like my Chess Cruncher team and friends that you have to sit back. You're always more than welcome to put in a mover on here, mover 2 or something, because it's all about improving. Chess is about fun, and that's the whole point. And the Lord's given me a gift that I want to share with the Chess Cruncher or chess community. It's a very blessed honor to do that. Okay. Let's see here. So I need to put in the oh great. Thought I copied this. Copy. Okay. Delete. Okay. Almost done there. Yeah, this one's a pretty unique one. This one is a unique puzzle for sure. But I know that you'll be able to solve it. Let's see. I'll give you another 30 seconds starting right now. To give it a shot at solving it. Okay, let's do it to it. Rook h5 check, knight takes h5, and then g5 mate. You gotta love that. Those are always fun to have checkmates on. let's do it to it. Alright, let's see what we got here. Check, pawn takes, and then g4 mate. Let's clear the chat. There we go. I'll have it all ready for when it's time. So we solved it already, so that was good. Oh, good. How you doing? Ah, that's great to hear. Great to hear. And you know what? It's all based. I'm thinking this, that when you're doing chess, you can't have a bad day. And that's how I look at it. Oops, I almost forgot a knight. There we go. Perfect. There we go. This one's a very unique puzzle. I know I said that already before, but this is like really a cool puzzle. Yep, you got it. Because the knight protects these 2 points, the bishop protects, and then the pawn attacks. So nice find there. That's a pretty tough one too. Not an easy one to spot. Oops, wrong. There we go. we go. Nice job. Alrighty then, let's get on to the next one. There we go. Let's get the one pawn. So pawns, this way pawns. There, there, there. Oops, rook actually goes there. Bishop. Okay, couple pawns. Couple. There we go. Uh, I'm kind of given what Father Pogar has. So these are what are in the Dad Father Pogar's book. So I'm not sure. Maybe he does throw in sometimes some difficult ones. Wow, you solved that one awful efficiently. Nice. That was good. Yeah, these are what are these are what's in the book, and I think the more we do, the higher the number we go up, the more they're gonna get a lot more tough. So I think his process is he starts out at mate in ones, then he goes mate in twos for about 3,500 puzzles. Well, I think he's trying to test us. See, he gives us a certain plot in the puzzles, and so what it was like piece sacrifice and then a pawn checkmate, and he gives it to you in different move order sequences. Then he'll throw in a tough one at the very end. We do like 12. We're on problem 763, and I think to get to mate threes, you have let me see, we have 2,900 more to do. Which we'll be able to get those done. And I'd rather go up slowly and improve our tactical understanding than just be thrown into some hard ones. It's building blocks, as I like to say. Okay, this one's an interest. Oops, I need to. Oops, sorry, I should have. That was my bad there. Gotta let you have an opportunity to participate. This one's an interesting one as well. Yep, there you go. It's a certain type of pattern that he's trying to install into the users of his book, that it's okay to sacrifice a piece and use a pawn as a fighting piece as well. So if we take that and learn from it, then we can put that in our, as I like to say, our arsenal of patterns. An arsenal is actually where you would store all of your like ammo and stuff like that. That's in the medieval times. It'd be like where you stored your bows and your arrows and your spears and your pikes and all that stuff. That's an it'd be mainly in your barracks, where the biggest arsenal of weaponry is. So let's see, there. So if we have that, if we have puzzles that are that we can use, then we're going to be able to build a barracks of patterns, and we'll be able to use whatever weapon we need in our play. If it's a if we need a long distance piece like a bishop, we could set up our archers. We have our archers here. We have our knights, and then we have our pikemen or spearmen, as you want to call them. And then we have our sub-general, which is our queen. And then we have our artillery, like our catapults and cannons, are our rooks. I think I have it solved. I solved this one. This is a pretty interesting one. Do you want a hint? Yes, I do. I have it. I'll put it in there. There's also one other one. Let's say that he doesn't move his rook. What else is a mate that potentially could happen? There's one more mate after bishop b8. There's if black plays any other move. If black plays any other move like a rook move, bishop move, pawn, knight, knight or queen. Let's just make a move. You have b7. Yeah. Yep. That's it. b7 exclam is fun. I like those exclams when they're really like that. That was a fun puzzle. I think so. I think that's how you spell it. What I do is I put a it like this. I just do an exclam mark by it. Then you could do like b7 exclam would be something like that. Let's see. I have one more, and then let's see here. Yep. Nice job. Good find there. Let's see what we got here. This one's a unique one too. I think you'll enjoy this one. If you need a hint, just tell me. Yep. There you go. One more and then we start into the end game. After this one we have one more and then we start the end game. I believe we get to do one more Emmanuel Lasker and then, or do we do a couple, I think, and then we're going to be able to go into some of the other greats as well. Oops, I have to put down. There you go. A lot of games are decided by 2 to 4 moves. So that's why I think Father Pogar only did mates all the way out to 3, and that was it. Because I think he may have mates in 4. Let me just take a look. Nope. He just has mate in 3s. Okay. I gotta mark the next spot that we're going to be going into. Put this in there and then erase the prior one. Oops, there we go. Okay, perfect. I think he faced his father or a relative or something in this one. Let me see. Okay, Queen E4. Knight takes. Yep, you got it. Because Emanuel Lasker faced Edward Lasker. So I wonder, I'll have to read a little bit to see if it was a relative. Same last name. So it must be like maybe his dad or an uncle or something. Or maybe a cousin or something. These are the two people that are playing. Manuel Lasker versus virtually seem to be doing basically, this is what it says. Virtually white seems to be doing well. His two connected passed pawns seem very dangerous. The reality of the situation, though, is quite difficult. White's kingside pawns are far slower than one might suppose due to the rook defense. will create a passed pawn for black, which the knight will have serious trouble dealing with. The immediate threat of rook e8 check is vital. Those are the two participants. There's game 3. So White went knight to e3. Oh, it's not king e3. How'd the king get clicked? It's knight. If it was, if it were black to move here, black would want to play here and basically win the entire house. But it's white to move. Rook e8 check. King d4. And rook d8 check. King e4. This keeps the king close to his kingside pawns. However, the published analysis of king c3 didn't seem particularly compelling to Edward Lasker. He said that potentially after c3, interesting move. He has two interesting. This is an interesting move as well. So two interesting moves. Then he said that it didn't seem compelling because a5 would be a playable move here. B takes a, and then king c5 would be to his cup of tea. b4, king c2, b3, check, and we can't take. So if we were to take, this would actually be a big problem. Taking would actually be a double question mark. Rook d2. This analysis contained a flaw. The first blip is on move 5. Knight c2, when I didn't see how black can win. However, even after g5, white should avoid the blundering move of king b2. This is actually a blunder here. Surprisingly, he's saying that this was a blunder. Instead, he gives this move here, king c3, a try win once. Again, I'm not sure if black can force a win. In my great predecessor, part 1, Kasparov simply says if king c3, then d6 exclam would actually be a playable idea. That's what Jeremy Silman says is unpleasant. The position give after g4, so g5, king d7, f5, king e8 exclam is also a playable move as well. This king move avoids lots of unpleasant checks and many variations. It is very interesting. It's a very interesting variation. To say the position is unpleasant in what we just looked at seems a bit funny, since the whole endgame is unpleasant for white. Whether he plays on move 3, e4, oops, it's not wanting to be very friendly with us. Come on, you could do it. You can reconnect for us. Excuse me. Does king and rook win against king and knight? It all depends on if the king and knight are close together. It depends if the knight and king are close. If the knight and the king are far apart, maybe a win or a draw. Oops, I need to copy. I have to put maybe in there. It depends. It depends. When there's pawns on the board, that changes the whole scenario of the play. Okay, so let's see here. There. Yeah, he says it's funny whether or not that if you play e4 or king c3, it's very unpleasant for black. I mean for white. Black wins by force after king c3. The idea is rook d6 is clear and allows white to advance his pawns so they become vulnerable to attack by black's rook. The king will swing over to the king side via king d7 and potentially then king e7 and get in front of the pawns and then take scope on them. To make matters worse, the knight move will allow black to target any knight move will allow black to target b4 and run via c6 potentially after the king moves knight a rook c6 check, followed by rook to c4, and then the b pawn will come under fire. So this king will paralyze these two, and then the rook will infiltrate to c4 and undermine the pawn chain, thus keeping the d pawn no fly zone for black for white's king, and the pawns will be lost eventually. White to move. One illustration points out that white's faced with let me see here. If we play here, he'll play there. We play here, then one idea is knight g4. There is also king c2. Knight g4 is an interesting move though. King f8, knight e3, rook d8. When white is in a mini zook swamp, since the knight move allows rook c8 and infiltrating in. So knight g2, rook c8, but the king could actually go to d4 exclam. Rook c4 check, king e5, rook takes b, knight f4, and I don't believe that black can actually I don't believe black can win this because there's enough counterplay with the knight and the pawns that it should be for example rook b1, 96 check, king g8, f6, rook g1, king f5, b4, g6, rook f1, e5, b3, f7 check, rook takes f7, g takes f7, king takes f7, and knight to g5 check, king e7, and then e4, b2, and then knight to c3. Or knight d2. Sorry, knight d2 they like better. He likes better. White successfully stops the pawns and leaves a true in-depth analysis of the position after rook d6 to someone more inclined to spending weeks, and he says weeks of finding lines. After all, this section of the book is entitled about endgame for pure pleasure, not the pain of chess visualization. Yeah. Hey. I appreciate that, but we're right in the middle of a lesson, so I appreciate it that you would offer to play me. But I must graciously turn you down. Thank you, though. With white's king always from away from the queen side, the b pawn that this move creates will cost white a high price to stop. So that's why this king over here, trying to get over here, white's king is in a deep problem. So b4, a6, exclam. Forcing black to deal with the a pawn, thus giving enough time to set up his upcoming defensive scheme. Alekhine correctly pointed out that g5 and b3. So if instead g5, b3, knight c4, king c5, knight b2, rook d2, knight d check, king c4, and knight e5 check, king c3 wins for black. So what black does though is plays c5 exclam. He ignores the pawn, and because his rook can handle the pawn, and he's not worried about that. He's more worried about queening his last pawn. If black had played b, knight c4, king b5, knight b2, king takes, a6, king e3, king b5, g5, king b4, g6, king c3, knight a4, king c2, f5, rook e8 check, king not f4, sorry, king f3, rook e5, king f4, and then rook a5, knight b2, exclam, because now what you're doing is he actually analyzed that king takes is a mistake. do to this move. It gives white the one tempo he needs. If he had played c2, then queening would happen, so he can't do that. He actually has to check on a4, so this is forced. King g3. He's staying in front of the pawn. Rook a8, f6, king c3, f7, b2, and we have an equal position here. There's no good way for it would eventually come down to something like this. If there, and then here queen, and you have an equal position. And then a7, actually exclam. This move is an exclam move. b3, interesting. So it's like one's an exclam, one's an interesting move. It's not clear if this allows a draw or not. So perhaps Fritz suggests that rook, rather than that move, rook a8 is also an interesting move. That Engine looked at that. It was the way to go. The whole endgame is complex, that many of the positions have yet to be analyzed, indefinite for basically the conclusion to conclude if it's actually a good move or not. This move or the b3 move hasn't been analyzed completely. So knight d1, rook a8, g5, rook takes, g6, rook d7, and then knight b2. He says this on this move: my great predecessor, part 1 once, again bows to a computer analysis which suggests that king to rather than the rook king d6 wins. They mentioned that if king f5, that king e7 shows things look grim for white. However, the simple play after here hold on, not that, but king d4, simply play king d4 is actually, this move here is an exclam, so this is actually the best move out of the lot. Rook c7 to try to cut the king off from helping. Then you have the exclam move of g7, and if we can get the king into the fight via c4, the same defensive formation will occur in the actual game. So this is a pretty cool setup that Emanuel Lasker actually sets up on Edward Lasker. Rook d2, king f3. This move is an exclam. I like this move. It's like, it's saying, take my piece. There's no way you can get back to stop the queen. And if you try something like this, and then you queen, I still have this pawn that I can potentially use, put my king and hide, and queen, and then sacrifice my queen. That is a really nice move. I like that. Rook d8 was actually played, so we'll promote that to the main variation. He's saying that b takes, what we talked about here, is actually a double question mark move. So we did find the right continuation. It loses to g7. It was exactly what we were talking about. a4, king d6, and then king d4. Exclam. The same move setup happened. Rushing to the queen side so the king can deal with the black pawn, but sacrificing his own remaining pawns to do so. And by doing that, it's a draw, because the king and the knight are close enough together. The knight will protect the king while from checks, and the king will protect the knight from being captured. So it's a buddy team. King c, rook c8, g7, exclam. King e6, g8 equals queen. Rook takes, king c4, rook g3, black must hold on to his b pawn, since rook versus knight endgame with no pawns is an easy draw. Edward Lasker, in his classic book Chess for Fun and Chess for is a good one. So Chess for Fun. Yeah. He wrote, "This is the move I had to calculate would win my game after all the other continuations. Also believe I had a fairly easy win as white could not capture my pawn. I remember I left the room at this stage to stretch a little and was basically thought he was winning. By Bogo and the others who were in the press room and told me the story of the game was ready to be released. However, when I returned to the table, I was shocked. He was shocked at what he saw. The only other move worth considering is rook to b8 is what he was considering here. Rook b8 would have potentially been a better move continuation. It was a shock when he saw that knight a4, king f5, and king b4, king takes, and then knight to b2, exclam, and there's no way to make progress here. There's no way. He's saying that after b8, king c3, king f5, knight d3, king takes, oops, rook b6. Now king there, and king d4 would be bad. So white coolly waited with his move of knight beats b2. And then king takes, a4, rook b8, and then king to, oh, knight b2, sorry. Black has no possible winning positions. Soon the black king will reach e1, but with the king still on c3, the knight on b2, there is no way to actually dislodge him. Why not knight? Oh, knight b. Oh, why not knight b4? I think it's because of pawn push, and then when you take, he actually can check. So I'm thinking that this might actually be a losing move, maybe not a blunder, but a mistake, because I'm thinking that he can actually push at that point, and yeah, I'm thinking he could push, and there's no way for your knight to get to a spot to stop the queen. And so by taking, he can actually take. Then when the king moves, he grabs your pawn, and I think he would be winning at this point. Think that's right, a winning position. Yeah, I'm thinking that this is what Emanuel Lasker probably saw. Edward Lasker also saw this move too. He wanted to see if his relative Emanuel would actually play that move. Surprisingly, by pushing the pawn, you're actually winning the game. This is probably an exclam, probably a double exclam move. That's probably a double exclam move. So that's that move there. So b2 exclam. Edward Lasker. I was certainly surprised when I saw this move explained on the position carefully. I soon realized that I had no way of driving white's king away, and I could not cross the 6th rank without exposing the pawn to capture. The first thing I did was to rush back that the story, he basically told the press to get rid of the story that he won. So I was afraid they might have already released it for someone to tell them I had an easy win. Then I returned to to analyze another position. If I could reach d2 with my king by basically playing my rook back, and could I still win? And I made one last attempt. That's what he said, one last attempt. King e, rook a4, king d4, knight d2, or b2, not d2. Rook c3, knight a4, rook e3, knight b2, king e4, knight a4. king f3, king a3 exclam. Edward Lasker. This foiled my plan. After king e2, white would play king b2. I could never approach the pawn. King e4, king b4, king d4, knight b2, rook h3, knight a4, king king d3, king takes, b3, king d4, check. The game took over 13 hours to complete. The game took 13 hours to complete. Let's see how I'm doing here. Yeah, now we're moving into Rubinstein, the master of the rook endgames. The greatest Polish grandmaster Rubinstein was born 1882 and sadly passed on to be with the Lord in 1961. Is the only player on the list that wasn't world champion. Though one of the world's 4 or 5 strongest players from 1907 to 1922, his results from 1907 to 1911 demonstrated that he was second only to Lasker, and his total domination in 1912, first prize in 4 powerful events. He got 4 first prizes in 4 powerful events. Led some to believe then and now that Emanuel Lasker's superiority at that time. A match between the two was finally arranged on October 1914, but the eventual of World War I prevented what would have been an amazing battle between two chess titans. That what makes Rubinstein great was his tremendous opening preparation, his balanced positional skills that allowed him to squeeze, attack, outmaneuver, push you off the board at will, and an unsurpassed mastery of the rook endgame. In practice, his I think his motto was "Do not hurry." Serve him very well in endgames, as we'll soon see. Our first example is against no less than his opponent, Manuel Lasker, 2009. I'll set up another one. This time it's Rubinstein to play. So I'm going to clear the board. Then I'll give you a chance to move, and I'll be right back after, because it's an exclam move. I want to give you, my Chess Crutcher friends and team, a chance to give it your go and see what Rubinstein might have played. let's see here. Yeah, let's see. I want to make sure I got this. Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Study. Oops, I need to do his first name too. Yeah. So you're white to move, my chess friends. I'll be right back. White to move. Exclam. White to move, exclam. So find the exclam move. I'll be right back. So what's the move? Do you have a move? Okay, I'll show you what the move is. Rubinstein's a pawn up. Rubinstein's first order of business is tying his opponent down to the weakness of a7. So he first plays rook a5. Exclam. Yep, you got it. Congratulations, nice job. Rook b8 was played. and rook a6. A very important idea that the student can use in many rook endgame situations where white's rook hits a7, thus forcing black's rook into passive defensive role. The rook on a6 also stops the enemy king from action for the action of undertaking. He's going to have to walk here. He won't be able to cross down or cross over here and attack there. You did great. King f8, e4, rook c7, h4, king f7, g4. Having rendered his opponent helpless, white now makes use of his extra e-pawn and also begins annexing space on the king side, utterly utilizing the advance of his king and his kingside pawns. Will create basically a hole for the king to get to. This will actually allow the king to get in and start wreaking havoc. King f8, king f4. Remember, slow and steady wins the race, the turtle. King h, and then h6. Now there's a weak spot on g. That becomes weak. Black weakens the g6. However, king f7 and king g5 would be met. So he plays king f5 here, and like what we said, king f there. But now we got to go back. If let's see here. Here, here, oh, I gotcha. King, oh, king here, I gotcha. King there, here, king e7, g5, king f7. Ah, gotcha. Okay. e5, king there, king g6, h6, rook e6 check is also winning as analyzed by Listenzen. If king d7, rook g6 double exclam. Double exclam. There's a line king e8, but if he takes g7, rook c8, e takes, leaves black unable to stop a white pawn from queening. If he tries something like this, the king comes in, and if here, then you have f7, and there's no way to stop queen from happening. So king e8, rook f7, rook takes, pawn takes, king takes, e6 exclam. When since he will stalemate black's king. So forces him to give up the pawn while mate. So king e7, king e5, king e8, king d6, king d8, e6 check, king e8, king e6, a6, a5, a4, g5, e takes, h, g, there, and then queen mate. That's pretty amazing. Okay, dokie. I have king f8, then rook d6, king e7, rook a6, and then king b7, rook c6, rook d7, rook c8, is followed by rook to so that if he plays something like this, you have this, and then if he comes here, you have this. If he comes there, you can take, king takes, and there's no way to stop the queenie process. Black can't let white get the king into g6. So e5. Notice how the e-pawn protects the white king from checks along the 5th rank. So rook b8, rook d6, king e7, rook a6, king f7, rook d6, time pressure, or a cat and mouse. Cat and mouse is likely the answer since one doesn't get many chances to take advantage of Lasker and make him do that. In other words, why hurry the attack when you can let your opponent basically kind of be there for a while and just, you kind of say, I'm the one who's pushing the tempo. That's kind of what Rubinstein is telling Emanuel Lasker's friend. You may be the world champion or the world best, but at this moment in this game, I'm pushing the tempo. So it's more psychological at this point. King f8, rook c6, king f, and then a3. At this point, I enjoy saying to my students here, upon seeing this crushing move, Black resign, the look on their faces is always priceless. Black resigns, looking on, let's see, but this move actually has an important point. If king f8, then king g6 is annoying. And if let me see here, rather than king r, if rook e7, e6 check, king g8, king g6, rook e8, e7. The g6 annoys any attack from black, and black can't avoid serious material loss due to potential infiltration on c8 mate. Our next example, Rubinstein's endgame mastery, shows that the great Polish player, using the use of his cat and mouse tempo, take your time and no counterplay allowed. We'll do this tomorrow, but I wanted to try to get 2 done. So do you have any questions on this before I log off? Okay. I wanted to thank y'all for logging on and participating in Chess Cruncher TV. And you know what? Great job on all of everything, because you know what? It's not an easy task to put yourself out there and risk getting the wrong answer, or the move not being right, or anything like that. But remember, we're all about learning, and like what we always learn, treasure your victory. So when you get the answer right, treasure that and learn from your losses. The mistakes that you make, learn from them, and remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you. So that's why we talk about that. It's not if you're going to make a mistake, it's just when. And how do you handle that? Do you learn from it and then you don't repeat it? Or do you repeat it and don't learn from it? Hopefully it's the other way around. You learn from it and then you don't repeat it. And the Lord Jesus really does help us with understanding what truly matters in everything. And we have to apply, like what Bruce Lee says, take what you know and then apply it and be willing to do something with it. And he also said that our minds are wonderfully made, and that we will hit a plateau, because it just happens. Even when you're bodybuilding and doing muscles and stuff, your muscles will hit a plateau for a while, and then you just have to be patient. Your body will and your mind will grow. Your brain will lay down more myelin, more communications. Your mind that the Lord Jesus made, it will lay down like more road. So if there's a need on a highway for a 6-lane highway and there's only 4 at the moment, there'll be a building project that happens. Same thing with our minds. There's a building it'll lay down more routes to the same area, and you'll find out, wow, I can recall things quicker. That's because there's more roads to that area. We have to. That's how the grandmasters, super grandmasters, get better is they practice. They also put on their grandmaster glasses, like what we talk about, our grandmaster glasses. And we always have our motto: don't give up, get up. And remember, what you think about is important. So if you think positive thoughts when you sit down and play either an online game or over the board game, OTB, then you'll see that your play improves if you don't go in there having fear of the other person. And let me see. I'm trying to think. Do I have another one? Well, we have to keep in mind that I always like the Azure Cerebon saying that every long journey begins with one small step, and that's our small step is every day keeping our studies. That's a small step, but at the very end, all those small steps added up leads to a great journey. But as chess crunchers, we have to remember who the center is, and it's the Lord Jesus and the Holy Spirit. They're the ones that we need to rely on when it gets tough, because it will. We can't rely on ourselves. Ourselves want to do other things rather than what we should be doing. We have as I like to call it, a lazy bug in our lazy bone. And when you have a goal, though, and a mark, as is written, the mark of our high calling, you'll then be persevering to do even more to reach people for chess and for the Lord Jesus always. But the main thing is, as chess crunchers, we hang up our coat and we hang up our hat and we sit down and study when most won't chess crunchers do. And that makes all the difference online playing and over the board playing. And I'll leave you with that. As Wesley So says, or Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward. We'll go over some more Rubinstein games and enjoy, have a pleasurable end game, and have fun always in chess and honoring the Lord. And remember what Hannibal Smith said. He always says when the plan worked. I love it when a plan comes together. But remember, a good plan is a plan that you already predict what your opponent's going to do. And you have a plan based around it that also doesn't affect your plan, but helps it continue. So, great. Two thumbs up. Great job, Team Chess Cruncher. Have fun playing chess and honoring the Lord always. And great job. Two thumbs up. Hoorah. Be blessed. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.